Drums, please.
Hey everybody, c.note here, and welcome to DOPEamine, the show that is all about mental health empowerment. Today on the show, I want to talk to my fellow INTPs, because I am an INTP, about how to develop a sense of humor. This is a tricky one. It's hard, especially for INTPs. I know a lot of us there are kind of varying ranges of INTPs, right? You've got the very TI heavy focused, I want no stimulation, put me in a dark room, I want to just focus. Then there are some INTPs that are very like, a little bit, and their intuition's all over the place, and you can't focus and you get nothing done. And then there's, some very emotional INTPs who are very much kind of whiny, quote unquote, and really just trying to express themselves and working through a lot of stuff. Been there, done that. Or also very expressive and angry about other people's behavior. And then you've got INTPs that are also very much stuck in their ways. You're just doing the same thing all the time, and there's like really not a lot of joy going on. Maybe in your head, but you're not expressing it. Those are not, by all means, the only types of INTPs, but those are basically expressions of types of INTPs that might stick with their personality type too much. Like they're either the caricature of being an INTP or fixated on a particular cognitive function and not necessarily well balanced. And that's okay. It's all a part of a process of growth and change and development. Sometimes it's an age factor. Sometimes it's a life experience factor. We've got environmental challenges. We've got all sorts of, we're in a pandemic right now, and we're dealing with the world madness all the time, and we're aware of world madness all the time. It's really hard to relax in any moment of any day. So I understand that watching a video about how to embrace comedy or humor as an INTP is, kind of weird at the moment. But, comedy and humor has been a mechanism for me to both connect with people, be honest about my mental health, be honest about my emotions, and to really practice letting go. And there's been a lot that I've kind of let go of since I was like literally 6 years old, that I think for INTPs, we know the world is kind of an absurd place. The things that people attach themselves to, there are little moments in every single day that people make like weird motions, and you're just like, you catch it and you're just like, why are they doing that? That's really weird. And you just kind of like, what? If you're paying attention. Now, again, there are INTPs that can very much be in their head all the time. And the thing about developing a sense of humor as an INTP is that you have to get out of your head in order to do it. Things are going to be funny to you. Yes, sure. But our head is a very serious, organized place. We've got information in there. We're trying to figure out life's challenges. We're trying to do some serious work in there. So when it comes to expressing ourselves outwardly, we have to balance that out. So if you're trying really hard to express the seriousness that's in your mind out in the world, that's not really a good sense of balance. You're dealing with seriousness and seriousness. You're like Batman times 6. And it's not healthy for the psyche of anyone to not have that sense of balance. And you'll notice that any personality type needs some semblance of that sense of balance, whether that's introversion and extroversion, judging and perceiving, intuitive and sensing, thinking and feeling. You need a balance of those things. So as an introvert and an introverted thinker, we need some more extroversion and some intuition, some emotion, and some expression. So it's good to get that expression out there. What I love about watching comedians growing up is that you get to learn as you see like stand-up specials, or you get to know how comedians work through routines. Is like, it's not like they stand up on stage and they instantly have a routine. They're workshopping stuff at home in their head or in front of a mirror or writing. And then they go on stage and they practice it and they work it out. And when it came to hanging out with my friends, there were things that I would usually notice about life And I would almost practice jokes dedicated to those things. And then every time I would go see my friends, if the context came up where I could kind of work that joke in, then I would be able to connect with people using that joke. Now, it depends on people's sense of humor, but honestly, I don't know. I think anything can be funny to anyone. So it's worth a shot to just put your humor out there. A lot of it is really bravery and being willing to say what's honest. Because a part of my humor has been being so direct about my mental health that it's kind of funny. To me, it's true. And it's like I'm experiencing this dark pit of despair, but you say it in this contextually opposite way. And people are like, that's kind of strange and uncomfortable. Ha, 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 ha. And you just have fun with it, right? And over time, you learn to roll with the punches a little bit more, not just in a comedic sense, but in a life sense. I don't know if you watched the last video that I put out, but I broke a plant while I was trying to close a window. And then I brought out, Mr. Triceratops guy, girl, person thing. I don't know what this dead Triceratops identifies as. But the point being that things happen and there's no reason for you to stop it or to stop yourself in your tracks just because something's not going as perfectly as it may have manifested in your head. And I think one of the challenges with being an INTP is that, especially when we're younger, it can be really easy to have this visualized perfection about how to approach, how you're going to approach something in the outside world. We're so organized and so neat and so eloquent in our head that when we show up in the outside world and we start stumbling and we start saying things that are not exactly the way that we planned, it can be a little bit jarring. And to me, it's about remembering that what you're trying to say, what you're trying to express, what you're trying to create, what you're trying to do is connect with people on the basic points of something. So it's not necessarily that you need to have this perfect button-up thing, but if you can get your point across, no matter how you do it, you can swing your arms like crazy and have the potted plant situation or, other things that are unexpected and just get kind of weird, like you can still keep going. It's not about the thing being exact. It's just about getting it around the territory of what it is you're trying to say. I find that improv helps with that, either watching it or going to improv classes, especially going to improv classes. I think improv can get a weird rap because there's like really a lot of cliche stuff within improv, but it's a fun way to start to learn to let go. And one of the things you let go of is judgment, self-judgment and external judgment. Because what you're doing is you're just going with the flow. You're in a safe space where there's really no wrong answers. And those are the two key principles that I personally have learned from improv is there are no wrong answers. And yes and is basically the Bible of everything when it comes to comedy, creating things, being an INTP, honestly. When you get into a place where the opportunities in life become yes and versus yes but, you start to accept more things and see how they can build on each other as opposed to saying like, yeah, this is interesting, but what about this? Instead of saying like, this is interesting and this is interesting and this is interesting and this is interesting. And you've got this crazy scaffolding of all of this stuff that you can play with. And then you start to notice like, whoa, there's this like, everything mixed together and all of this is like really fascinating. Let me put this into this like fantastic Kamehameha of wonderful destruction. And then you kind of create rad things and put fun things into the world, whether that's comedy or making your own business or whatever, right? So the idea of using humor as an expression tool and using humor in your life as an INTP is that it's an additive process that counterbalances the naturally subtractive process of introverted thinking. And that's where the balance is. You experience more things more things, so that you can bring those things into your inner world, and then you can clean slice and be like, all right, this one's fun, this is great, this is funny, this is not funny. And I think INTPs have this interesting relationship with humor in that as an INTP, we mostly use our introverted sensing as our method of, or the target of our humor in a lot of ways. It's noticing a lot of things in the world that people are doing every day that's kind of absurd and pointing them out. I think Trevor Noah, who is very possibly an INTP, does this very well. He talks about his past. He talks about all the little details of life, or all the things that we're kind of just used to in America or other places, and calls it out, and in a funny and interesting way. And that's what we do as INTPs. We notice people's behavior, we call things out, and if we can do it in a way that's funny, then it becomes approachable, it becomes interesting, it becomes something someone wants to actually listen to. And in the midst of the expression, the funny, they say like, oh, you know what? That's also true. Because comedy is at its best when it's also true. And that's usually why it's funny. It's funny because you're delivering a harsh truth in a safe way. Now, when you're delivering a harsh truth in a very TI, well, really an FE, like very direct, trying to change someone's behavior kind of way, people get defensive about it because it's like you're going straight for the jugular, right? You're not just trying to like wine and dine them or give them some truth that's kind of interesting. But if you deliver it in some way that includes some sort of funny spin to it, or an actual good pun, because we have relationships with puns as well, then that sort of thing is actually a lot more fun. It's a lot more interesting, and it gets people's attention. And that's what humor has been for me as a tool. Haven't used it a lot on this channel. There are elements where it kind of comes out. I have to be kind of improv-y. There's I'm in an apartment building, things happen, there's, random stuff that occurs. And I just kind of go with it and I respond to it. But I do comedic things in life all the time. And it's really that process that I was talking about comedians practicing on stage, like writing on stage is really the thing, where you can take the same joke or the same kind of joke and go to different friends groups or different people, or the barista at the coffee shop, whenever we can go back to coffee shops, or your parents, or the person that you're talking to online, or whatever. You test this joke with them, and you just kind of reword it and change how you approach the context, depending on the context, depending on the person you're talking to. And then eventually you land on a joke that becomes kind of universal. You can say it one way or one or two or three ways, and the punchline still lands. And that's really about, that's a good way of expressing how, as INTPs, we can get better at explaining things and expressing things, is that there's not just one way to express something. There's no one singular way to define a piece of history or an idea or a concept, which are all the same things, right? But you know what I mean? It's that there are just multiple approaches, and that's the development of the TI-NE relationship, right? And you're able to like put those two things together to balance each other out and say like, okay, this makes sense. Let's add some goofy to it. And then also keep expressing how this makes sense, but it's goofier. And, you just have fun and you get the point across that way. Right. So, I think that's really all I wanted to say about INTP humor and developing a sense of humor. Again, like anything that's on this channel, it's not a magic pill. This is not something where you can just literally just take what I say and absorb it in terms of information, and then you go out and automatically you can do it. You got to keep practicing. You got to get your sea legs under you. You've got to go and actually express and talk and practice and taste test things, and be willing and be brave to put yourself out there. And again, it starts with self-judgment, letting go of self-judgment, and then letting go of expectations or assumptions of external judgment. So again, with the improv thing, it's like take the yes and approach and then let go of all judgment of yourself and others. There's no wrong answer. Usually there's no wrong answer because there's just a million ways to say something. Everyone's got their own perspectives on things, right? So approach life as if there's no wrong answer. is really what I'm trying to say. And then you'll be able to have a lot more fun, because it's really for you. It's not about being funny. It's not about getting the applause. It's just lightening the load of your head. You know, there's just so much in here that in order to keep things malleable, to grease up the wheels, right? You just gotta have some ability to let things go and move stuff around freely. That's really what it's all about. So that's it for this episode. If you have liked this video and this is your second or third video you've seen, hit like and subscribe. I forgot to say it on the last video, but that's totally fine. You already know what to do. Like, YouTube's been around for over a decade now. You got it. You know the deal. You know what to do. Smash the like button, punch it with your head, and then be able to go click on the links below, check stuff out. I've got articles, podcasts, a mailing list where you can get a free INTP ebook that I've written that has a bunch of Q&A around how to be a better INTP, and all that other stuff. We got a productivity workshop. We've got programs. There's a lot of stuff. Just kind of click around, you know, feel it, have fun, enjoy yourself, you know, here, just play, leave comments, say hello to people. It's totally okay. Just have a good time. We're just here to have fun. There's nothing at stake. It doesn't matter. I mean, it matters, but it doesn't matter. So don't worry about it. Have fun. Join us wherever you can join us. And then I'll catch you next time on DOPEamine. Bye.